Well, hello and welcome, everyone, to Bluegrass Planet Radio. I'm your host, DJ Delta Dawn, and so glad to be here with you on your Monday evening. I hope that you've had a great day today. I know for many, myself included, Mondays can always be kind of a drag. But nonetheless, I hope your week is off to a wonderful start, and just want to welcome everyone into our show tonight. Thank you for stopping by or deciding to tune in. If you've had a really bad day or it's just been a typical Monday, I'm very, very glad you're here. We have a wonderful guest that is going to be calling in momentarily. We're waiting now for him to call. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised. When I first heard his music, I was, it really kind of took me aback for a bit because it was so unlike what you normally hear in country music and Americana. It was different, but it was very refreshing and very exciting, and I loved the sound of it. And our guest, his voice, it just fits the kind of music he does so very well. I want to give you a little bit of background on him while we're waiting, and if he hasn't called in by the time I'm through introing, then I'll go ahead and play one of his songs. I've got a couple of songs I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, but he is what some consider an Americana artist. Some consider him to be wide open country, acoustic. But he performs in that vein of music nonetheless. And he is the kind of artist that represents life, hope, and human nature as only a seasoned person can. The top 5 Roots Music Report release, which is No Spring Chicken for this artist, has the overwhelming strength of a song called Baby Blue, a deep celebration of a newborn life, to a song called Welcome Home, with its ability to remind you how comforting the idea of home can be. And this album, No Spring Chicken, just kind of encompasses a lot of different diversity in song and in music, but it centers itself around the 3 things: life, hope, and human nature, and which is something we all can relate to, I think, as human beings. And it's just a wonderful album. I've honestly not had the privilege of hearing the entire album, but the songs that I have gotten a hold of, I love, and I have no doubt the entire album is just phenomenal. And but our guest, he's been hard at it for so long now, and has been making music for quite a while, and is doing some wonderful things. And this album, No Spring Chicken, is meeting many with much success and much great feedback and rave reviews since its release. And so without further ado, we are so very pleased and proud to welcome this evening our special guest, Jiggley Jones. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Dawn. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Jiggley?
I'm good. Thanks for the kind words. That was very nice.
Well, thank you for being on our show and for taking time out of your busy schedule in life to just be a part of what we're doing this evening. It is most appreciated.
I appreciate you having me. I'm juggling my kids this evening, so you might hear a few screams in the background once in a while. But I'm used to that.
Look,
so.
you know, I know all too well. I'm a mom of 3, although mine are practically 2 of my 3 are grown, and so I know what that is like. I've been there, done that. It goes with the territory, right?
Sure does.
Well, I tell you, as I was saying in the intro, when I first heard your music, I was just kind of like, wow. First of all, your voice has such a distinct sound. It's not like, you know, a lot of sound that you hear out here every day. It fits the style of music you do so incredibly well. But your songs, I got into them immediately. I mean, I love the sound. I love the beat. I love the rhythm. Just really has a great melodic feel to it. And is that something as an artist that you strive to accomplish or achieve in your music?
Well, you know, you are who you are, and that's what comes out of me naturally. You know, if you sat down and told me to write a straightforward country song or some other type of song, I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, it's just not in me. So what comes out of me is what I've become. So it's not that I try to do that. I try to, you know, create music that's pleasing to the ear, obviously, but it's just something that comes out of me as a person. Everybody has their own niche. And as far as being different, I guess in a way that's sort of a blessing and a curse. So, some people like standard music, and some people like stuff that's a little different. So, it's sometimes it can be a struggle, and sometimes it's a blessing. So.
Well, one of the things that I love about your music is the fact that you don't stick to one particular genre. I mean, when I was listening to your songs, I was like, I'm hearing a little bit of country, a little bit of rockabilly, a little bit of Americana, a little bit of folk, but it was just a great infused mix of a lot of different genres and sounds into your music, which I think is brilliant, because whether you strive for that or not, it gives you kind of a lot more latitude and flexibility as an artist, creatively speaking, than some artists, never get to, because they're so stuck in one genre or one style.
Sure, right. Yeah, that's and once again, it's just something that comes. I'm not really trying to do that. A lot of people have a hard time, putting my music into a genre. So, from a marketing standpoint, sometimes that's not a good thing. But, if you're lucky enough to catch people's ear, you can spread out and cross over to different genres, then usually it's a more successful venture. So hopefully that'll be the case.
That is so true. But I think in this day and time, Jiggley, music is so, there's so many different styles and genres out there that, if this had been 2 decades ago, it might be a little more difficult to place, find a place for you in the world, but
sure.
In terms of music, but I think now it's kind of like an anything goes with, with all the aspiring indie artists out there who are putting their music out there, and they're being as creative as they want to be, and the sky's the limit, so to speak. And so, it's like the perfect time to just kind of really introduce, to bring what you do forward, and in a way that is embraced, unlike ever before. So I think that's awesome.
That's an excellent point. It really is. It's just I've sort of lucked out in that sense that, first of all, country music is really branching out. It's becoming more than your father's country music type of thing, and that's great for people that are sort of on the fringe like me, and it gives me a chance to find that niche that would have been hard, like you said, a few years back. So.
Yeah, and great point as well about country music, because listening to today's country music, it has kind of a country rock feel to it.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I was over the weekend. My daughter was watching the Country Countdown, and there was well-known band. I won't name them on here, but as I was watching them, I told her, I said those guys initially aspire to be rock stars, and she said, "Well, what do you think? Why do you think that?" I said, "Well, look at their bandmates. I mean, there was one guy playing drums. He definitely looked like a rock drummer, and I mean, they just had the look. And I said, but that just goes to show you, how music has kind of transcended different genres. It's now being made so that it can cross over more and more. And a lot of country artists are crossing over into pop and vice versa. And and it's really becoming more of a universal fit than a compartmentalized specific genre-based industry, and I think that's awesome, especially for the indie artists out there who are really trying to be seen and heard.
Yeah, I think rock music went through that and continues to go through that too. Back in the day there was a thing called Southern rock, and then that sort of disappeared, but now that's coming back, but it's still part of the country genre. People that remember Southern rock, a lot of, like you were saying, some of these rock bands that are country, that's pretty much where they would have been, back in the day. So, rock music has gone through all different kinds of changes. If you were a certain type of band, let's say in the 80s, one of those big hair bands or something, and then all of a sudden Nirvana came out, it was still rock, but all of a sudden the whole genre of rock completely changed, and you were like obsolete at that point. So, and further on into the 90s and then into 2000 and whatnot. But, it's just music is ever evolving, which is a good thing. And I'm not sure why that happens, but it happens,
Oh, yeah, it will always happen. I do believe, as long as there is creative-minded individuals out there who are really trying to put something new and fresh in front of listening ears. I mean, that's the nature of the beast,
Right.
Now, I want to talk to you about this great EP, No Spring Chicken, because from what I have heard, it is awesome. And, I mean, from the moment I heard your music, I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm such a fan, because it was so different from say, traditional country or other styles of music that I listened to, and it was new for me. So talk a little bit about the birth of No Spring Chicken, if you will, and, how it kind of all came to be for you.
Okay, well, first off, the name, No Spring Chicken, obviously, I'm not 18 anymore, so, my point there was sort of like a silly stab at the music industry and how they seem to be leaning towards the very younger and younger artists, and some of us guys that have been around for a while, we still have something to say, so it was sort of a silly poke at the industry, the name of the record, and I don't think you have a copy of it in front of you, but on the front of the cover of it, it's got two chickens in the snow. Obviously, no spring chicken. It's like a play on words kind of thing. And a friend of mine who was my photographer, he went to a local farm and where they had chickens, and the chickens didn't want to go out into the snow. They didn't like that idea, so the farmer sort of gave them a little push with the broom, and they stood out there for long enough for the picture to be taken. So, it all worked out. Yeah. So no farm animals were harmed, though. So we're good.
Yeah, really, and probably the cheapest album cover ever made. No album art needed. Yep, you know what I'm saying? You didn't have to. Didn't have to send it off to a designer. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, and hopefully no people were harmed, and hopefully the chickens didn't peck the photographer, So
maybe a few feelings or something, but that's about it.
Well, so, I love that concept, though. I love the fact that you're a great example, Jiggley, of not like conforming to the norm, so to speak, of what today's music is all about, number one. And number two, in taking that little bit of a jab or a poke at the music industry as a whole, I've said so many times that, the mainstream artists out there who are kind of the here and now of today, who will, in 5 years from now, people will be going, who was that? And they, it's just they're having their moment now. But on the flip side, the music industry is really missing out on artists like you, because when I think about people, everywhere, if they could hear your stuff, man, they would be all over it, because number one, it's so different from what you can get when you turn on your radio any day of the week. And it's just I don't know, it has longevity over what we're seeing out there in music, which is so rote and so, predictable, if you will.
Yeah. It's a shame that sometimes, the artists are sort of stuck, having to conform to the business side if they're with a label or with this and that, and they might even have more to offer musically, but they're not necessarily allowed to do so because the label has them convinced that your record won't sell unless you do this or that. So, a lot of the artists are sort of stuck in that kind of thing. And if they want to do it for a living, they sort of have to conform to a point. I'm hoping, in the long run, my music can spread itself around enough to where, it becomes a bigger thing and a lot of people get to hear it. I signed a new deal myself recently, and I just got back from Nashville just the other day, actually, working on the new record. So it's an indie label. I have a lot of creative control over it. So I'm real happy with the way it's coming along. And this No Spring Chicken is sort of on the end of its run, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to the new record coming out, hopefully in early spring or maybe even sooner. So.
As you said, early spring, and I'm thinking that the title of your EP is No Spring Chicken. I'm like, you really have a thing for spring here.
Yeah, right. So maybe I should call it that, right?
I'm just teasing. But it is interesting, and I'm excited about the new project because is this going to be a full length, or is it going to be another EP, or what are your plans there?
It's going to be an EP, but it's going to be 6 songs instead of 4. So that was the deal that we agreed on, and it's going to be 6 good songs. I really streamlined it down to my best 6 songs, and it's going to take a different flavor than this record did. I have a little more country influence in the production side of it. Dave Moody, who's been a bluegrass guy for years, and most of the stuff he does is country oriented, and a lot of the overdubs and things will be more country sounding, but it still has my voice and my stylings as far as the chord progressions and things like that, the way the song is arranged and things. So I'm really looking forward to that. He was a real good guy to work with, and right now they're down there working on some overdubs for it. So, I can't wait till it comes out. I'll be back down there in February to do a video shoot for one of the songs. So I'm looking forward to that too. So.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Now, will this be your first time doing a video for any of your stuff?
I got a couple videos that are on YouTube. They were self-done. It was either me and my kids working on one, which came out pretty cool, or me and a friend of mine who's got some pretty good video equipment. The first one, we had like almost 250,000 views on the two of them combined. So
awesome.
They worked out pretty good considering they were very low budget.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can go to my website and catch them anytime you want. So.
I'm telling you. I mean, and it is just amazing what the power of social media, YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, and all of that, it just has given indie artists everywhere like yourself the ability to really get your music out and promote it and to be heard in ways like never before. And I really think this whole industry, this side of the music industry, and I like to call it, the music industry's unintentional best-kept secret. Because it really is. And but thank God for social media, because it has really given indie artists everywhere the opportunity like never before to be seen and heard, and to show listeners that, hey, we're just as relevant. We are just as talented. And the only thing that sets you apart is that major record label. But as I'm finding just from doing these shows and talking to so many indie artists, there are a lot of artists out there that the whole mindset is, it would be nice to be signed, but at the same time, a lot of them are so happy to have that ability to retain their own, creative freedom and not be told what they can and can't do. And I think a lot of artists now are just, they would prefer to not have to be stifled in any way.
Right. It's a blessing and a curse. Once again, the social media is awesome. It really, like you said, everything you said is true. On the flip side of that, everybody's there, so you have to be able to cut through the masses to get noticed a little bit more than the next guy. So there's where the difficulty lies, is the oversaturation of the social media. Everywhere you turn, there's bands everywhere. So, and with the technology these days, the recording equipment, things like that, you can really come out with a good recording at a cheaper price. So a lot of bands have really great sounding recordings. So the competition is just as stiff as it was before. It's just good that you can actually get it out there. But once again, you have to be noticed somehow and stand out from the next guy. So still tough.
Yeah, it is. But sometimes all it takes though is that one little break. The right person's seeing it. When you think about Justin Bieber, who was on YouTube initially just doing covers, and he was just discovered, and look at him now. And it's sometimes that's all it takes. You don't ever know who's going to see your material, hear your work, and your life be changed forever. And all because of social media. And that's the beauty of it. Now, in addition to being, singer-songwriter, and a very successful one, I might add, you have done all kinds of things in the music industry. I mean, this is not your first rodeo with making music. Share with the listeners a little bit about some of your background in music and how you have seen it change and evolve, in the time that you've been in it.
Well, first and foremost, social media and the technological advancements that there's been. When I started in music, there was no digital recording, and everything was done by tape, and which was a very expensive and time-consuming process. And it has its pluses too, as far as certain sounds and things. But I started when I was a kid. I started singing in the church choir and playing the clarinet in elementary school. But music wasn't a big thing to me then. It wasn't until my later teens when you had your teenage friends that were turning you on to different music and this and that, where I really got interested in it. So I started playing the bass guitar in cover bands around the area at first, and got a little bored with that and started writing music. And ever since then, I've been doing nothing but writing music. And I think you're probably referring to my stint at doing the soundtrack music, MTV stuff, things like that.
Yeah,
which is on my bio. that was done in a band that I was in up in New York at the time. We weren't specifically doing music for MTV, but we happened to know somebody that worked there, and they would tell us when they were looking for stuff. So we were usually the first ones to get our demos over to them, and a lot of times they picked us. A lot of times they didn't, too. You know, they wanted something different. But they would use music that we already had recorded, pieces of songs and things, in the background of certain shows, like Cindy Crawford's House of Style, and I think Dennis Rodman, he had a show, The Road Rules when it was still around, if you remember that. So, you know, it was something that we sort of stumbled into, which was really cool at the time, but we weren't specifically hired by MTV to write soundtrack music. We were actually a band that played New York City, and we had our own music out there already, so they just took pieces from that and used it in different things. So that was pretty cool. As far as go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, on that note, I mean, that's a perfect example of you just never know who's listening,
right?
And who's going to discover your music and what you do and how it might, fit what someone else is doing. And I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that keeps you going. I mean, it takes a lot of perseverance in this business, and if you don't have it, you're going to get eaten up. And one of the things that keeps you going is that hope that someone's out there just waiting for you, and that and many other things that keeps you going. But that's a real important thing is knowing that at any time something could happen that's really good. So that's a good thing.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm sorry. I thought you faded or you had stopped talking there for a second, so I do apologize. I didn't mean to talk over you.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about some of your musical influences that have had an impact on the music that you make.
Well, I'm an old classic rock guy from back in the day. That's what I listened to when I was a kid. In my household, that seemed to be playing all the time, if anything. So Neil Young was a big influence on me. I would say some of Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin's probably my all-time favorite band. I lean a lot more towards their acoustic stuff as I get older, especially. The Eagles, bands like Steve Miller and James Taylor I was a big fan of him. So the list goes on. Anything I heard, I love Mozart, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I love country music. There's a lot of bands today I like a lot. As far as country goes, I'm even a big Taylor Swift fan, believe it or not. So, it's just I got two young girls and they love her, and I sort of got roped into it, and I appreciate her songwriting abilities. In Nashville, a lot of times artists don't write their own songs, but she's one of the ones that does, and I have to give her credit. She's really good at it. Some people don't necessarily believe she's country, but to me that doesn't matter. It's just that the music itself to me is what matters. And influences come from everywhere. And there was a period of time where I liked a lot of heavier rock and stuff when I was younger. So I'm sure there's still a little bit of that in my blood somewhere. But it's a whole bunch of different things all mushed together as one. So.
And it's like taking a walk down memory lane, listening to you name all those great rock bands from, back in the 70s. And because some of my favorites, too. 70s rock was, I think, some of the best rock out there. That and the hair band rock of the 80s. And it's unsurpassed. That the music from that era in the rock, genre, I think is timeless. It never gets old. Even though it has age on it in terms of when it was released, but in terms of the sound and, hearing it today, it's like hearing it for the first time all over again every time I, listen to a classic rock station locally. So I can certainly understand and appreciate that because what great influences, those bands were. And, gosh, Led Zeppelin. It's funny that you mentioned that because as I was listening to your music initially, it wasn't that it sounded like Led Zeppelin, but the sound of your music, the way Led Zeppelin always had that kind of all over the map sound with their sound. That's kind of the way your music is what it reminds me of is that it's so infused with so many different styles of music, and it just has that great great sound to it that it kind of makes you feel like you're going on a journey, kind of like you did when you listened to Zeppelin.
Sure. I mean, music is about emotion, and that's what you try to bring out. And, of course, you keep in mind that you have to have people that want to hear it, so you don't want to go too far to the left or too far deeply into the music itself. So, you put some reins on yourself, but you can still come up with some really interesting stuff within that corral, so.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, Jiggley, this has been such a pleasure speaking with you. We want to be able to play a couple of your songs before we wrap our show, but I can't thank you enough for being on our show this evening and talking about, your career and your music, and also especially sharing that when the new album is going to be coming out. We can't wait for that, and I look forward to getting that from you so we can play it and promote it here on the show as well.
I appreciate you having me, Dawn. This is great. What you guys do for music is also equally as great as what we do. So, you get the word out there, and we really appreciate that stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. And, if you weren't making music, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. So, it kind of goes both ways there. That's right. You got it, the chicken and the egg. Right. Well, Jiggley, thank you so much, and all the best of much continued success to you as you go forth this year and beyond. And we'd love to have you back on the show anytime to discuss anything, any new projects that you have coming out. This has been wonderful.
I'd love to come back. You have some great things to say, so.
Oh, well, great. Well, thank you so much, and God bless, and say our hellos to your family, and we will definitely be chatting with you again real soon.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Good night. We have been speaking with Jiggley Jones, folks, and I tell you, I really enjoyed speaking with him because he really, he really has it in terms of musical style and prowess, and his style is all his own, which I love that unique quality about his music. But the fact that he just, he's drawn on so many of those classic rock influences that have kind of become a part of who he is. I mean, when you grow up on that kind of music and cut your teeth on it, so to speak, it's really hard to get it out of your system. So to follow him on social media, check him out on Twitter and Facebook at Jiggley Jones, and that's Jiggley. You can also find him. Go to his website, jigglyjones.com/WordPress, or you can just do jigglyjones.com. You should be able to find him. And that has a listing of his album, No Spring Chicken, and you can sample the tracks there. You can get everything on iTunes. It's available there, and also CD Baby. Also has a list of upcoming shows where he's going to be, and just chock full of lots of great things. And so we want to say a huge thank you to Jiggley Jones for being our special guest this evening. And also many thanks to all of you for tuning in. And if you are a first-time listener and this is your first time here, welcome aboard. We're always glad to have people here on Bluegrass Planet Radio joining us. And so look forward to having you back again very soon. So as we close this evening, we're going to play a couple songs from Jiggley's latest release, No Spring Chicken. The first up will be Baby Blue, followed by Ain't That All Right. Take care, everyone. Have a great Monday evening, and we will see you back here again tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, all. Take care. God bless. Good night.
All right now. Where are you? Right now, I just wonder. Where are you? All right. Wow, ain't that all right? Ain't that just fine? Really, it's cool when I think about you. Because that night, ain't that all right? You're alright. Just the other day, thought about the time we had. I see your face shine through the window time. So what today the sacred tribe of all the ways could really use the sound of good advice. Where are you right now? I just wonder, where are you? All right now. Well, ain't that all right? Ain't that just fine? Really, it's true when I think about you. Ain't that right? Ain't that all right? All right. I think you left the whole of my wide. I climb the walls and hope to see the ocean tide. You let time and how I feel go by the way. I hope to somehow get through the day. Where are you right now? I just wonder, where are you? Where it needs to follow through, I'm sure that you like to stay true and your life will go on. Just listen to miracles. They come around magic clouds, bring the rain down, rivers fill.
You've been listening to Bluegrass Planet Radio. Find us on the web at bluegrassplanetradio.com, on Twitter at Bluegrass Planet, and on Facebook at Bluegrass Planet Radio. Thank you for joining us.